Trade reports are really starting to escalate once again as Elliot Friedman has linked the Toronto Maple Leafs to a couple of key players, including Sean Walker and others. So I'm going to break down those reports and discuss what exactly they entail and what potential packages the Leafs could be sending their way. And it seems like the Leafs might be making a big move ahead of the deadline that is upcoming. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we do, quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 6,500 subscribers. Thank you guys for letting us hit 6,000. It means the world to us. And make sure to hit that button if you haven't already. Now, Darius, a lot of rumblings are going down. And let's just jump right into it, and let's start with Sean Walker, as a report came out saying that the Leafs have inquired about defenseman Sean Walker, and of course, or as well, Alexander Carrier, who we'll discuss in a future video. Let's focus on Sean Walker for today. We made a video on him a while ago, a few weeks ago, and it seems like the Flyers are shopping Sean Walker, and that the Leafs have a serious amount of interest. And you can see John Tortorella basically, he was asked about it the other day, it may have been yesterday, and he basically said that we're not necessarily shopping Sean Walker, but we're listening to the offer. So who knows how likely it is, but what we do know is that a variety of reports are coming out regarding him, and the Leafs have inquired about him recently, which is very interesting. It goes to show that they look like they're going to be buyers this upcoming deadline.
Yeah, I think the Leafs definitely have to be buyers at the deadline. But I think if the deal is right for the Philadelphia Flyers, I think they take it, because I don't think they're, stupid. I don't think their head office, is ignorant to the fact that they are kind of still rebuilding in a way. They're still trying to add pieces. So if they can get something really good for this type of player from a contender like the Leafs, then I think they would do it, right? I think if they can get like a first-round pick or something. And honestly, if the Leafs get more than just Sean Walker, I think that a first-round pick is warranted. Now, Sean Walker, a lot of Leaf fans don't know too much about him. We got to see a look at him last night in the game against the Flyers at home. Honestly, great second-pairing guy, like a top-four defenseman, right-handed shot. The Leafs need that. Great at penalty killing, and he's great in transition, moving the puck, right? So I think that is literally everything they need. Everything that I just said ticks all the boxes. They need help on the penalty kill. We've been talking about it for months. And again, he's pretty good on offense, getting the puck up. And that is something that the Leafs, struggle with as well, some of their defensemen. So I think this would be a huge upgrade. And like I mentioned too, right-handed shot, they need that. I think if they're going to acquire a defenseman at this deadline, they pretty much have to get a right-handed shot. I think acquiring another left-handed shot, wouldn't be a mistake if it's a high-end player, but would be a mistake if they're just adding depth again, right? So Sean Walker would be a great add for the Leafs.
Yeah, and look at his JFresh hockey war chart. He's a very, very good. He's great in the penalty kill. I mean, he's good overall. Does take a lot of penalties, and JFresh had a lot of talk around Sean Walker as a deadline target. A very mobile defenseman who carries the puck in transition, kills penalties, and has leveled up at both ends of the ice, playing the top four there at the blue line in Philadelphia. And you mentioned a couple days ago, as of the time of uploading, when they played the Flyers, he looked very, very. He looked good, and obviously. Who knows? I'm going to ask you this now before we move on to the next target. What kind of package would you be willing, and leave in the comments as well, to give up for Sean Walker? He is on the last year's pending UFA, $2.7 million cap hit. He is only 28 years old, and he's a very, very solid player. And according to Tortorella, it would take a big offer for them to part ways with Sean Walker, or maybe that's just what he's saying, because that's probably the only thing they're supposed to say when it comes to this.
Right. Yeah, they probably don't want to devalue their player, right, in the media. But I think the Flyers have come out and said earlier in the season they're kind of looking for a first-round pick for him. So I think if you're the Leafs, I don't know about any other team, but if you're the Leafs, I think if you're going to make a trade with the Flyers, we've talked about Ristolainen in the past too. He's injured, so I think that changes the dynamic of the deadline for the Leafs in terms of looking at the Flyers. But if you're looking at the Flyers as a Leaf fan or management, you have to get like Scott Lawton back too. You need a couple more pieces. I don't know if you could just go after Sean Walker. You have to make it worthwhile, right? So I think if you're, Leafs management or Tree Living, you're looking at the Flyers and okay, we need two pieces back. And in terms of what the Leafs would give up, I think you're definitely looking at that first round pick, which is okay if you're getting good value back. I think, everyone's been kind of skeptical about, giving up the first for Tanev on the other side of things. But if you're getting a return like this, I think a first is, it should be warranted. The Flyers are going to ask for it. And probably a prospect. We've talked about Robertson. I think it would be a mistake to let him go, but again, it could be something that they mix in there. I think it would be a mistake, down the line, but I think definitely the Flyers are going to ask for another prospect in return.
Yeah, and if they want to get a deal done, I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Robertson is kind of the sticking point, and whether they actually part with him is up in the air still. But let us know what your thoughts are on that. And Darius, let's discuss Boone Jenner here. So Colorado, Edmonton, and Toronto are among teams with interest in Boone Jenner per TFP, and according to the stats here from Andy and Rona, for us, Jenner is pretty much the same player as Lawton has been the last 6 years. Coaches and staffs like their leadership. But if we're only talking about hockey, Jenner is a bit overrated. Let's get your thoughts on this, as well as kind of discuss, probably a similar package type thing, maybe a bit less than Sean Walker here, like we discussed. But you can see Boone Jenner a few days ago played more than 26 minutes, scored a goal, 9 shots on goal. Like, he has games where he's dominant, won 17 of 25 faceoffs. The Leafs could definitely use a guy who can win faceoffs. What are your thoughts on a Boone Jenner potential, coming to Toronto party?
He would be a great ad, honestly, at the deadline. I think he would really, really help that third line position. And again, I've talked about it. I think if you can move Domi to the wing and maybe Boone Jenner comes in to really solidify that third line center role, that'd be great, because he is a great third line center. If you're asking me about my opinion, who I'd rather want, I think I would rather want Scott Lawton from the Philadelphia Flyers, but Boone Jenner would be a great ad. He can chip in for goals here and there off the rush. The one thing that stood out to me in the chart as well is his role difficulty. He plays in difficult situations, and I think the Leafs need another guy who can kind of thrive in that, and I think he does that really well, mostly because he plays on a bad team and he's playing against tough competition all the time. But the fact that he's doing it, and he's doing it pretty well when he's on the ice, considering his team, the team that he plays for, again, I think if he was to transition to a better team like the Leafs, then that would translate better. So it would be a great ad for the Leafs. I think they need to, upgrade at that center spot at 3C. And I think Tree Living has been pretty vocal about the fact that he is open to doing it and wanting to do it.
Yeah, and looking at a big thing with him is that obviously he's left winger / center, will probably play the third line center. He has 3 more years left. He's signed until 2026 at a $3.75 million cap hit, so which isn't too bad. And we know that Brad Treliving prefers to trade for people who are at the very least either going to re-sign or already sign. And again, we saw what Sean Monahan, obviously a different situation, but what Sean Monahan got from the Jets, which was a first and a conditional third, I believe it was, which probably won't convey unless they win the Cup. Do you think a similar thing here? Do you think it would take a first to get Boone Jenner? He is under contract for longer. You can argue whether or not he's having, probably having a worse season than Sean, but it depends. A lot of people don't view Sean Monahan as that great. He hasn't been doing great in Winnipeg so far. What do you think it takes to get Boone Jenner? Do you think it's a similar first-round pick? Do you think the Leafs would part in their first-round pick for a guy like Boone Jenner? He is under contract for another 3 years, though, so.
I don't think it would be smart to do that. I think Sean Monahan as a player brings more value to a team than Boone Jenner, especially the way he's been playing as of late. I know it hasn't worked out in Winnipeg thus far, but in terms of the actual trade, that's what I think. But Boone Jenner, he would be a great ad. I just don't know if he warrants like a first round pick or anything like that. The only reason I would see them getting Columbus, that is a bigger return, is because he is signed for the next couple of years. He is in a UFA, so they could kind of leverage that. But I don't think he would, garner too much from the Leafs because he isn't like a huge impact player. I think he would just really complement the Leafs team and what they need more of.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Sean Monahan, also a bit of a bigger name, at least from the trade deadline front. He was kind of one of the top 2 guys who was going to get traded along with Elias Lindholm. But let us know what your thoughts are on that. Who would you prefer out of Boone Jenner and Sean Walker? Obviously, different positions. A lot of you would probably say Sean Walker because the Leafs need defensemen, which, we agree with. I think both of them could happen. Hopefully that one of them does happen, simply because I can't see the Leafs going out and not getting a big name. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know your thoughts are in the comment section below, and we will see you tomorrow.